Welcome back to Bleav in Softball, presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Jenna, and however you got here today, whether you downloaded the audio version on Apple, Spotify, etc., or you're watching the video on YouTube, thank you and welcome back. Subscribe and rate the show wherever you get your pods. You can follow us on Instagram and X at Bleav in Softball. That's BLEAV. And don't forget about the merch. Click the link in our bio on either page or go to shop.bleav.com to purchase 3 different shirts available for you, covering our bases, safer out, and catch you soon. All right, let's go through today's lineup. First, we will be covering our bases. I'm going to share some call-outs. Then we'll head into today's interview with Beth Mowins, an ESPN broadcaster, the voice of softball, calling our sport for 30 plus years, including the Women's College World Series. So I'm very excited for that. And then we'll bring it home and wrap up with some final thoughts. All right, let's go. Covering our bases. We're back with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. They have a little bit of almost everything when it comes to sports betting, like the NWSL. Season is underway, and I'm actually going to be attending my first ever women's pro soccer game this weekend to watch Bay FC in Boston go at it. So I am super excited about it. You can check out all the odds for soccer and more in FanDuel Sportsbook. No matter what you're into, there's something for you. So check out all FanDuel has to offer, from same game parlays and more. Because we believe in softball and we believe in FanDuel. And we believe in mayhem. First, in terms of what I've been up to leading up to what we're now in, which is the middle of mayhem. In week 13, so I called the last week of the regular season. It was non-conference play. Pacific came to Stanford, and I actually got to see some Bleavers. Kaylani Ricketts is the pitching coach on staff there. Brian Colsey, who has been on the show, was a longtime head coach there, pretty much synonymous with Pacific softball. Got to say hello to both of them. And then it was Stanford Senior Day against Sac State. That was sold out for a non-conference game on a Friday. And the senior class, that is River Mailer, Kira Chan, Emily Jones, Taryn Kern, a Bleaver, Allison Morikawa, and Ella Murchison. They're probably the best in program history. They've been to 2 World Series. They've been ranked every single week in the NFCA poll during their careers. There's 3 All-American honors between them. So many more things that I could list. So that was awesome to celebrate them. I actually had quite a day on Saturday. It was my goddaughter's first Holy Communion in the morning. Then it was the Stanford Senior Day barbecue in the afternoon because the Friday game was a night game. Then it was the Golden State Storm home finale at night. So yes, I did another round of PA for women's pro football, and the team had the highest attendance in the league for the WNFC at their 3 home games, and they got the win. So all very fun, and all that to say, go women's sports. Then in week 14, I went to the ACC tournament. So it was my first time back to Charlottesville since my visit during my recruiting days. And that was before Palmer Park even existed. There was an attendance record broken for the championship game between Virginia Tech and Florida State. So it was really cool to just witness that in person and see the growth really firsthand from when I was there then to being there now. And I was reunited with multiple Bleavers in Virginia as well. So the ACC Network studio analysts, Brittany McKinney and Alex Powers, who have been on the show, Jenny Dalton-Hill, who was calling the games, of course, Lonnie Alameda, the head coach leading Florida State, Jayla Wright on staff at Duke, and then absolutely last but not least, Jessica Allister, Taryn Kern, Zoe Perstyko from Stanford. So plenty of people that you get to interact with and just have some of those moments in person. It's really nice. And I got to wear my Lonnie Alameda breast cancer ribbon shirt with her. Got to show her support in person after Florida State won the championship. So that was a huge highlight for me personally. And we took some selfies after on Coach's phone. Plus, she said at one point over the weekend, "You look cute." And I was like, you know what? That's one of the best compliments that I could have received from Coacha. So I was very excited about that too. I would just say overall, the ACC has good people. I went to Boston last year and it was great. They took care of me again this year. Just everybody from the ACC staff, shout out to Bailey Grossetti, to the SIDs, to the players and the coaches, just good people all around. So the ACC Tournament Central and d1softball.com, I was putting all kinds of updates from my time there. You can read that, and also multiple interviews and just content across our social channels at D1 Softball if you want to take a look. Speaking of D1, the new podcast is out. We interviewed Jazzy Francic from Florida State and Tanya Wendell from ASU in the latest show this week. Both conference champs. Jazzy is the ACC MVP and the Pitcher of the Year, by the way. and Tanya was Big 12 All-Tournament and just having a career year at the plate. Very cool to hear from both of them because they both rep their home states at their respective schools. They're both now looking ahead to the NCAA tournament and regionals this weekend, with Florida State hosting and Arizona State going to Texas A&M. So I also talk all things NCAA bracket and all the changes and implications from the selection show. Because in case you missed it, we did have a live selection show special as well, with reactions with all the D1 podcast hosts, including 3 Bleavers with Rhiannon Potke, Eric Lopez, and Victor Anderson. So check it out. You can find both on D1 Softball's YouTube or wherever you get your pods, whatever audio platform you choose, and follow D1 Softball on X and Instagram to stay in the know. Coming up next, of course, is regionals. This week, next week, it'll be supers, and then all of a sudden, somehow, Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series. I'm going to be there the whole time for that. Cannot wait, but lots of softball to happen before then. Someone else who will be there the whole time, really, on the road to the Women's College World Series is today's guest. So let's head into the interview. A longtime ESPN commentator, NFCA Melinda Fischer Distinguished Service Award winner, Lafayette College basketball alum, Syracuse native, Hall of Famer, and the voice of the Women's College World Series for over 30 years, Beth Mowins. Beth, thank you for joining.
Hey, Jenna, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's
Love
Mayhem.
this time of year.
Mm-hmm. Mayhem is the best time of year, that is for sure. And did you coin the term mayhem, by the way?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Excited about that.
Yes, you were the first person I heard it from, so I was like, she had to have done it. It's truly the perfect descriptor for this time of year. It is basically March Madness for softball, which we love.
Yeah. And last year was just, it just got crazy right from the start with Liberty, knocking out Texas A&M. First time ever that the 1 seed was eliminated in the regionals, and then the World Series was. That we were talking about that the other day. It was just the wackiest in memory with all the crazy stuff that was going on. So yeah, Mayhem is definitely fitting for what this tournament has become. And really, I think the headline for this year is the fact that we really do not have a clear-cut favorite. There are, a whole bunch of teams that have a shot at winning this thing.
I like it that way. How do you feel about it?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's some good rivalries that we could see in the super regionals. There's been some good chatter going on. I loved Maya Johnson on the selection show, kind of getting after Alabama and getting after that regional. With Southeastern Louisiana there, 3 of the best pitching staffs, top 5 in the country will be in Tuscaloosa. The disappointment in Florida State that they don't get the 9 seed and they have to travel cross country to UCLA. I think that's going to be a really cool clash of some great hitting and good pitching. So there's all kinds of stuff to be excited about in these early rounds, and I think in the supers too, if the chalk holds.
Agree. Cannot wait. And for you being in the booth with Jessica Mendoza and Michele Smith for 20 years, and don't forget Holly Rowe being a part of the team for so long too. Yeah. How does it feel to be a part of a team like that in the booth for so long?
Well, as I like to say, between the 4 of us, we have 3 gold medals, and I think twice as many Hall of Fame accolades. So it's pretty cool. I always wanted to be the play-by-play announcer. I was a pretty good athlete when I was younger, but I knew I wasn't going to be, the stud Olympian. I knew I wasn't going to be the former coach or the former quarterback that you see a lot of the analyst roles go to in a bunch of different sports. So I really focused in on that play-by-play role. And one of the, special things for me is just you get to work with all those cool analysts and the coaches and the quarterbacks and the Olympians. And in this case, to be up there, with Jess and Michele for 20 years now, it's just really cool. And you only see the tip of the iceberg on the air. You get to tap into all that knowledge before we go on the air. And when, we're sitting in a restaurant post-game, rehashing a lot of the stuff that happened with 2 of the greatest players that have ever played the game. And to have the input from Holly Rowe, who, sees the best in football and the best in basketball and the best in softball, and the knowledge that she brings to the table and the stories that she can tell. It's cool to be a fly on the wall for all of that. And of course, with the World Series, there's nothing better than, and no greater honor to be able to put our voices and to be able to put all the pictures, for our whole production crew from the top down on so many softball players' memories at the World Series. It's a real honor to be a part of that.
Yeah, highlights of their lives, and you guys get to tell that story. It's very special.
Yeah, we love it when, we sit down and do interviews before the World Series starts, and players, say, gosh, it's so cool to meet you guys. I've been watching you since I was a little kid. And then, you run into former players from the World Series 10, 20 years down the road, and they're like, gosh, when we get together with our teammates, we still watch the videos from those days and the replays from our World Series games. And it's just so awesome to hear your calls and the stories that you guys told about our team, even 20 years down the road. So that's kind of neat too, just to be a part of that softball community from a very early age to a very old age.
And it's full circle, that is for sure. But you are essentially, as the play-by-play announcer, the quarterback of the announcing crew.
I'm the leadoff hitter, Jenna, for softball coverage. Yeah, I'll take the quarterback when I do football and the point guard when I do basketball.
There you go. I love it. I love it. But for you, how long does it take you to prepare for one broadcast on average?
Oh, gosh. So one of the things that's really cool about us now doing the tournament in Clearwater to sort of tip off the season and throw out that first pitch, if you will, take the first swings of the season. That's in early February. I'll start making game boards in early January with the teams that we have there. And what's cool is a lot of the teams we see there, we end up running into, during the regular season and during the regionals and supers. And I think it's at least 3 teams over the last 5 years. At least 3 of those Clearwater teams make the World Series. So the preparation can start months in advance. And then you have a situation like this week for the regionals. So we're going to Nebraska, have already seen Nebraska. So as soon as the bracket, comes out and I fly home the next day after the selection show, I'm building the boards for the other 3 teams, Grand Canyon, South Dakota, and Louisville, on my flight home. And so that's when the preparation starts. And what's kind of neat now is, back in 20 years ago, you didn't have any information, analytics, stats, metrics online. Now everything is out there, and it's almost too much. You have to put a filter on it all. But we go after, click in on team names on the NCAA RPI, and they have, who the team, your schedule, and who you beat. They have all your rankings nationally, so it's quick. You're quick to find out if a team has a really good ERA or batting average, or they're one of the best in the country in slugging, things like that. And then, I love jumping on the NCAA stats page to look at individuals. If they're in the top 10 in something, that's always a good nugget to put down. And then we start firing off questions to we have this amazing research department and our graphics folks that can find all kinds of cool stuff for us. So it's a total team effort. A shout out to Karen Johns, who's also been with us the last 20 years in the booth, a former catcher and a former coach. So she has great insight into, what is important before a game, what's important evolving in game when things may change. And so it's good to have all those folks around to help us out as well.
Karen Johns has been on the show before. She actually recruited me when she was at Virginia, and I went on a visit there. And I got to go back for the ACC tournament this last week for the first time.
What a great facility. That looked awesome on TV. Great fans there. Great turnout. That was cool.
It was. And on my visit, it was before it existed. So just to see the growth from that sense was awesome. Mm-hmm. But yes, lots of love to Karen Johns. And the preparation for the selection show itself is in depth and really quick turnaround. I don't know if people realize just how quick that is for you
Yeah.
all to have to prepare, but really exciting moment too, to be able to reveal the bracket for everybody.
Yeah. So I love my, I love my index cards. And so what we do is, say the week or so before. So while we're at the SEC tournament, we are huddling up and putting together what we think will be the hosts. So I may make 20 index cards and say, there on top of the index card is Alabama. And then we just jot down, coach's name, key players, their NCAA tournament history, their World Series history. And then there's blank space below that. And what we do is then we start looking at who we think will be the automatic qualifiers, who are the top seeds in the A10, in the Missouri Valley, in the Horizon. And we will go in and start writing down little nuggets on players from those teams as well. And then we kind of can cut them out and tape them on to like the Alabama index card. And so we have, for the selection show, this 16 cards featuring the top seed, and then we'll tape on there the other 4 teams in that region. So it's quite a busy day, Selection Sunday, trying to put the bracket together. We're on a conference call with the selection chair. We have our production meeting with our crew, and it's 2 hours of showtime. So it's pretty cool to see it all together. We have a producer and a director in our ear, and they're kind of helping us. All right, get ready now. We're going to go toss it over to Holly Rowe. She's got an interview with Megan Grant. Or, all right, we're bumping to break. We're going to go to break with footage of Texas Tech and Nigeria Kennedy. So we know to chat a little bit about Texas Tech going to break and sort of tease what's coming up out of the next commercial and things like that. It's a whole team that is working together to make that magic happen. And we love the reactions, from all the schools. That's become one of the best parts of the show.
That's one of my favorite parts, easily, especially for the programs whose first time it is going to the NCAA tournament. Does that ever hit you in the feels still all these years later?
Oh, yeah. I think the first timers are really cool. And I think the bubble teams are really cool. Like we had 3 mid-majors who were pretty dominant during the regular season in their conferences, but did not win their leagues. And so Marshall stands out. They weren't sure they were getting in. There were tears of joy when their name popped up. And so those are kind of cool moments. Those sort of last 4 in reactions, not sure if they're going to make it with at-larges. And the newcomers, it's always an amazing experience. We have one with South Dakota going to Nebraska. And so it's great to see just the pure joy on their faces to be able to experience the NCAA tournament.
With all this said, I said it in your intro that you played basketball in college.
Yes.
Why softball? How did you get involved in softball specifically?
So there was a time, a long, long time ago, Jenna, when we all played 3 sports. That was what you did. We did not pick one sport to play all year round. And so I played soccer in the fall. I loved soccer. I loved my team. And it was a great way to stay in shape and be well conditioned for basketball season. And then basketball in the winter. And then I played softball in the spring because, first of all, I loved the game. But we had a couple of really good pitchers. We had a great coach. And so we won a lot. And we really took it seriously. Won states my junior year. And so I just loved being a part of a team. I loved being involved in just the whole softball experience. And over the summer, actually, I would play just tons of pickup basketball locally. But then I would play on travel ball teams, and travel around New York State and the Northeast all summer long. So I did have a base of softball in high school. And then I kind of knew that my bread and butter and a free ride for a college education was going to be with basketball, and quite frankly, that's what I was best at of the three sports. So um, that's kind of why I played hoops in college. But always loved softball and loved soccer, and still do. Big fan of Chelsea in the Premier League, and watching the women's national team and the U.S. men's team is going to be great this summer to see how far they can go. And then obviously softball has just been, what may end up being my greatest accomplishment as a sportscaster, what our softball team has been able to build. The first time I went to Oklahoma City was 1994. I think we had 5 people. We had a production truck that was actually just a van, and we only did the finals, and it was tape delayed on Memorial Day Monday. And, you had to fit it into a 2-hour window. Due to time constraints, we now move ahead to the bottom of the 6th inning, that sort of thing. And now every pitch, every game, we have a cast of, I think, 200 people. We have a truck compound now. So the growth of the game and the sport, it's been a great ride to be a part of the popularity of softball.
Even since when I played, my grandparents are like, oh, now we can watch all these games. How come we couldn't when you were playing? I was like, well, it's growing. It's growing, Grandma.
Growing.
And also, by the way, for the record, everyone, so they know, over 1,000 points you scored in college for basketball, and the school record in assists. Just had to put that out there.
Still hold that one.
That's right.
I don't know. That might be my Laura Espinoza record. Someday somebody might break it.
We'll see. Took a long time for that one, so we'll see.
It did.
We'll see. And did I hear right? I believe, have you said before that you were an infielder when you played softball?
I did. I played some second, short, and third when I played softball, and I was usually the leadoff hitter.
Yeah, and still the leadoff hitter in the booth. So I love that.
Yes.
And I have heard you mention before for the broadcasting piece, that when you were a kid, you saw women on TV talking about sports at one point. And you asked your mom, hey, can I do that? And she said, yes.
Yes, you can. I still carry around a little piece of paper in my wallet that says, yes, you can. And then on the other side, it says, don't be afraid. Mm-hmm. So those were two of the things that really, stuck out for me as a youngster. I watched Phyllis George on the NFL Today show in the mid-'70s. And that was really the first time that I saw a woman talking about sports. And that's sort of when I realized, okay, that's what I want to do. And my mom said, sure, go for it. And at that time, of course, there really weren't any other women around. So, but I didn't have any other choice, really. That was the only thing I ever wanted to do. So I put my head down and just, don't be afraid, take chances, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to fail. I know that's a little bit more difficult now in this age of social media, but failure is such a huge part of ultimately being successful. And that was certainly a big part of my journey. And just, along the way, just finding different people to work with and being a good teammate. I really relied heavily on my sports background. I want to be a good teammate. What do you have to do to help make the people around you better, and sort of find that skill set that forces the coach to keep putting you in the lineup card every day. And that's kind of how it works too in broadcasting, and, just sort of moving up through the ranks that way.
So many of the things that you've mentioned about broadcasting is why I enjoy it and why I'm interested in it, but, wouldn't be able to pursue it if there weren't people like you before me. So I appreciate that. And I also appreciate, we've talked about your contributions to women's sports like softball, of course, but breaking in and breaking barriers on the men's sports side too, doing the first all-female crew to call a Chicago Cubs game, the first female broadcaster to call a nationally televised NFL game. There is an aspect to that where I'd imagine there's pride and gratitude, but some pressure and responsibility as well. Do you feel all of those things at once?
When you're going through it, you really don't. You're just, it's what you do. It's what you love to do. It's your day to day. So you still stay pretty focused on things. I remember doing, Monday Night Football or the first NBA game. You may have to do a couple more interviews with people. You may hear a little bit and get a phone call from more of the bosses saying, "Hey, good luck, go get them," things like that. But when you're in it, you're just kind of doing it. And I guess one of the things that's great is, young girls still dream about calling the Super Bowl and love football, or calling, the World Series and love baseball. And so I think that was one of the things that, I as an announcer, I still would love to call a Super Bowl or call the World Series and things like that. But as you're coming up and you get these opportunities, unfortunately, it's still a situation where the bosses probably notice you more calling men's games. There's higher pay as you move up higher into the men's side. And so while I loved pursuing those opportunities, I also really did understand and appreciate that, okay, so if you have a bigger name now as a female broadcaster, you still should try and bring that to the women's games. And I've always tried to stick with women's basketball. And I've always been adamant that I need to stay on softball and call the Women's College World Series, even if I start doing these other things on the men's side, because your voice does lend a little bit more to the broadcast. And it's a bigger deal when people see Michele Smith and Jessica Mendoza and Holly Rowe coming to town. So that's been really important for me. I guess it's probably after the games, Jenna, that you start to realize that you've had a big impact on a lot of young girls and a lot of young women. And what's been really cool for me is, sort of the explosion of the WNBA right now, and all the different networks and outlets that we see WNBA games. And so many young female play-by-play announcers are involved in those national telecasts. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this summer, sort of the growth of that. And I hope it starts to come a lot more too in the bat and ball sports.
I do too. And I think your versatility in that sense, with covering different sports, that's important too. And we talk about versatility with athletes, right? And so your ability to do that. And then for some of these women coming up, if they have a sports background, to be versatile in being able to do play-by-play, not just be the analyst, do both if you like, just being able to do so many different things. I think you've set a good example for that too.
Yeah, I think that's the goal. For an analyst, you're doing a lot of work in season on your sport. But for play-by-play announcers, people have probably noticed at ESPN, most people are calling a couple of different sports, maybe one in the fall, one in the winter, or one in the fall, one in the spring. And so for me, that versatility was always huge. And for 30 years, I was calling 3 different seasons. When I was just starting out, I was working 12 months a year, because you want to get as many reps as you can. You want to get out there as much as you can, calling a lot of different sports. And so that has always been something that I thought was significant, especially when I was first coming up, and kind of was fortunate that there weren't many other women that were doing play-by-play. So if they wanted a woman to do it, I was the first, call they made, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, very cool. And you can be honest with this question. What's your favorite sport to call?
I think they're each a little bit different. Basketball is obviously home for me. My dad was a basketball coach. I've been around basketball since I was, yay high. Football is a week-long sort of siege. There's so much prep that goes into it. Building towards the electricity of, once a week is different. It's special, right? And can be the same way for soccer. And just the way a whole campus becomes electric for that Saturday, or a whole city is just locked in on their NFL team on a Sunday. And then softball for me is just so comfortable because I've been around the sport for 30 years. And so to have sort of, up here, all the great coaches, all the blue blood programs, all the great players, sort of the history of the game. I think the fan bases have caught on to the fact that I love to sneak in a Debbie Doom reference whenever I can. Center of your bingo card, free spot. So, that kind of stuff makes softball special. And the ability to follow it from start to finish, the ability to call the championship kind of puts softball on a different level, and to be a part of the World Series.
So glad you brought up the Debbie Doom reference, because I love it every time you do it. And just the nod to some of the history, on top of what's going on now.
I think that's so important. And I love the fact that we've been talking a lot lately about Laura Espinosa.
Yes.
And we've been able to talk a lot about how incredible those Arizona teams were. They won 4 or 5, and obviously with UCLA having to give back the championship in the middle. They had a streak of probably winning 5 in a row with this lineup that just changed the sport and still has an impact on our game today. And I think it's important to remember, when you call a UCLA game, it's important to talk about all this incredible talent from their history, their ability to win championships from the 80s to present day, and to do it for that long is something that, with social media and with how quick the news cycle is, we tend to forget sometimes the significance of what's come before. And when you look at the men's sports, Jenna, they have that history they love to talk about, 50s, 60s, 80s. And now we have that 40 years, 50 years of a history. And I think it's still important to put perspective on what Megan Grant and Kendall Wells and Jordan Woolery are doing. The fact that Woolery may be the first person ever to hit 500, 30 homers, and 100 RBI, that all that is just cool stuff. And what Jordy did last year, hit 400 with 20 wins and 20 homers is just, I love that sort of perspective and that sort of history that I think every once in a while you got to drop some of that stuff in there.
Absolutely. And now we even see players whose moms played. That's more prevalent.
That's always cool too. Always cool too. Especially, when they reached the World Series and their mom had played in the World Series before them. Great stuff. Big sister was there 5 years ago. All that. Love it.
Yes. Family ties for sure. Well, I could talk to you forever. I would love to. But obviously in Mayhem, it is the craziest time of year. So I will wrap up with a game that I play with everybody who comes on. It's called Safe or Out. So basically I'll bring up a topic. If you like it or you agree with it, you'll call it safe. If not, then you'll call it out.
All right.
So you are the umpire. There's no Appendix G either for this.
No Appendix G. Touch home plate, everybody.
Exactly. Okay, so the first one is the new NCAA bracket format with the quadrants. Safe or out?
I'm going to call out right now. We'll see how it plays out through the course of the tournament. It was a little confusing, I think, for most fans based on the feedback that we got. And so much of our game is the top 8 seeds and the top 16 seeds. We're still going to be able to talk about those throughout the course of the tournament. So,
yeah, it seems like the quadrants, that's built more for like a Final Four scenario for the other sports, more so than 8 teams in OKC. Yeah. All right, fair enough. Second one is solo broadcasts. So when you have no partner, just you, safe or out?
Oh, I'm going to go out on that one too. I think it's a total team effort.
Agreed. That was an easy one too. Okay, the last one is bat flips. Safe or out? Safe.
Just don't hit the umpire. we have had a few bat flips that came dangerously close. So be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, or hit anyone, teammates, just anybody. Keep it clean.
Look before you toss. Is all I'm asking. Or slam now apparently is also a thing.
Yeah, apparently we're tomahawking things into the ground as well. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Well, thank you again, Beth. BMO. I love that that's how you typed in your name coming into this as well as we're recording this. I appreciated that. And I appreciate your time. And again, thank you for being a great example for people like me.
Thank you, Jenna. Let's go with the mayhem.
A lot of people consider Beth Mowins to be the voice of softball because 3 decades of essentially narrating our sport. I think it's safe to say that she believes in softball, so it was very appropriate for us to have her. And I just like that she brings the history and the broadcasting knowledge that I love as well. So I hope you did too. And with that, let's bring it home. You've been listening to Bleav in Softball, part of Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. The show is available anywhere you get your podcasts, wherever you listen, including Bleav.com and YouTube too. So subscribe to the show, rate the show. If you liked it, write a review. Follow us on X and Instagram at Bleav in Softball. Again, that's BLEAV. You can always reach out to me personally on X at JennaBecerra01 and Instagram at JennaBecerra as well. Keep catching new episodes every other week this season, and thank you as usual for tuning in. We'll catch you soon.